Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is a graded story for English learners who love powerful ideas. Today's story is about a young man who woke up one morning and realized he had been sleeping his whole life, not in bed, but in his choices. In his days. In the slow, quiet way a person can waste something precious without ever noticing. This story is about choosing not to waste the precious time we are given. And it begins with a broken chair. The alarm rang at 6 in the morning. Marcus did not move. He lay on his back staring at the ceiling, the white ceiling. The same ceiling he had stared at for 3 years in this apartment. He knew every crack, every shadow, the way the morning light came through the curtain at exactly the same angle every day. The alarm rang again. He reached out and pressed the button. Silence. He was not tired. That was the strange thing. He had slept 8 hours. His body was rested. But something inside him felt heavy. Not sick. Not sad. Just empty. Like a cup that looks full but holds only air. Marcus was 28 years old. He had a job. A small apartment. Food in the refrigerator. By most measures, his life was fine. But fine is not the same as alive. He thought about the day ahead. Wake up. Go to work. Come home. Watch something on his phone. Sleep. Then do it all again. The same loop. The same ordinary Tuesday that felt exactly like every Monday before it and every Wednesday after. Somewhere outside a bird was singing. He did not get up to listen. The chair had broken 3 weeks ago. It was a simple wooden chair. One leg had cracked at the base. Marcus had moved it to the corner of the room and told himself he would fix it soon. But soon became next week. Next week became someday. And someday, as always, never came. On a Thursday morning, with nothing better to do, he picked up the chair and walked next door. Old Thomas lived in the small house at the end of the street. Everyone in the neighborhood knew him. He was 70 years old, maybe more. He had a white beard, slow movements, and hands that looked like they had been carved from the same wood he spent his life working with. His workshop was attached to the side of his house. You could hear it before you could see it. The soft sound of sanding, the clean knock of a hammer, the smell of sawdust and morning air. Marcus knocked on the open door. Thomas looked up. He did not seem surprised. He did not seem anything in particular. He simply looked at the chair in Marcus's hands, then at Marcus's face, then back at his work. "Broken leg," Marcus said. Thomas nodded. "Leave it there. Come back Friday." Marcus put the chair down. He turned to leave. Then he stopped. Thomas was already back at his workbench. His hands moved steadily over a long piece of timber, smoothing it with a small plane. Back and forth. Back and forth. The motion was slow and completely sure. There was no hurry in it, but there was no wasted movement either. "Do you always start this early?" Marcus asked. Thomas did not look up. "I start at 5. Marcus blinked. Every day. Every day. Why? Thomas was quiet for a moment. The plane moved across the wood. A thin curl of timber fell to the floor like a ribbon. "Come back Friday," Thomas said again. That was all. Marcus walked home. He did not know why, but something about that workshop stayed with him all day. The smell of it. The quietness of it. The way Thomas's hands never stopped moving, but never seemed rushed. There was something in that room that Marcus could not name. Something he had not felt in a long time. Or maybe something he had never felt at all. Marcus came back on Friday. The chair was fixed. The leg was stronger than before. Sanded smooth, the wood grain running clean and straight. It looked better than the day Marcus had bought it. "How much?" Marcus asked. Thomas waved his hand. "Nothing." It was a small job. Marcus set the chair down and looked around the workshop. He had not really looked on Thursday. Now he did. There were pieces of timber stacked along one wall, each one a different size, a different color. There were tools arranged on a pegboard with a care that felt almost like love. And on the workbench, the piece Thomas had been working on was now more complete. A long curved shape. The beginning of something. "What are you building?" Marcus asked. "A rocking chair," Thomas said. "For my granddaughter." "How long does that take?" 3 weeks, maybe 4. Marcus looked at the curved wood again. It was already beautiful, even unfinished. "Can I ask you something?" Marcus said. Thomas looked up. That piece of wood. Marcus pointed to a wide, dark board leaning against the far wall. "What kind is it?" Thomas walked over to it. He ran one hand along the surface slowly, the way you might touch something you respect. "Oak," he said. "Old oak. This tree grew for 60 years before it was cut." 60 years, Marcus repeated quietly. "Look here." Thomas pointed to the cut end of the board. Marcus leaned in. He could see the rings, dozens of them. Thin circles inside circles, each one a different shade of brown and gold. "Every ring is 1 year," Thomas said. 60 rings, 60 years of rain, sun, cold wind. All of it here, all of it recorded. He paused. You cannot erase one ring. You cannot add one back. Each year either grew the tree or it did not. There is no going back to fix a thin year. Marcus stared at the rings. He counted silently. 10, 20, 30. "That is time," Thomas said simply. He turned and walked back to his bench. "You cannot buy back one ring. Not one." He picked up his tools and went back to work. Marcus stood at the board for a long time. He was not sure why his chest felt tight. He was not sure why his eyes were counting rings that had nothing to do with him. 60 years, each one gone the moment it arrived. He thought about last year. What did he have to show for it? What ring had he grown? He did not have an answer. Thomas spoke without turning around. "One day or day one," he said quietly. "You decide." Marcus looked up, but Thomas was already focused on his wood, his hands moving in their steady, unhurried way. As if the words had cost him nothing, as if he said them the way other men said good morning. Marcus picked up his chair and walked home. But the ring stayed with him, all the way down the street and long into the night. He went back the next morning, not because Thomas had invited him, not because anything needed fixing. He just found himself walking toward the workshop at 7:30, hands in his pockets, not entirely sure why. Thomas was already deep in his work. He glanced at Marcus, nodded once, and said nothing. Marcus sat on a stool in the corner. He watched. Thomas did not seem to mind. This became a pattern. Every morning for 2 weeks, Marcus came to the workshop. He did not help. He did not talk much. He just sat and watched Thomas work. There was something calming about it. The rhythm of the tools, the smell of the wood, the way Thomas moved through each task with complete attention, as if nothing else existed while his hands were busy. On the 15th morning, Thomas set down his tools and looked at Marcus directly. "What did you build this week?" he asked. "What? This week. What did you build? What did you make? What did you start?" Marcus opened his mouth, then closed it. He thought about the week. Monday, he had slept until 9. Tuesday, he had watched videos on his phone for 3 hours after work. Wednesday, he had told himself he would start learning that design course he had paid for 6 months ago. He had not opened it. Thursday, he had met a friend for coffee, and they had talked about all the things they were going to do someday. Friday, he had come here. Marcus stopped. Thomas waited. He was not unkind, but he did not fill the silence either. "I didn't build anything," Marcus said finally. Thomas nodded slowly, not with judgment, just with recognition. And that was somehow worse. That evening, Marcus sat alone at his kitchen table. The apartment was quiet. He had a notebook in front of him. He had bought it 8 months ago with the intention of writing down his goals. The first 2 pages had some notes. The rest was blank. He did something he had never done before. He sat down and counted. He was 28. He had finished university at 23. That was 5 years ago. Roughly 1,825 days. He wrote that number on the blank page. 1,825. Then he asked himself an honest question. Of those days, how many had he used with real intention? How many had he woken up with purpose and gone to sleep having moved toward something meaningful? He sat with that question for a long time. The number he arrived at was small, painfully small. He stared at it. Then he looked at the number 1,825 again. All those days, all that time, already gone. He could not get a single one back. His chest felt tight the way it had in the workshop with the oak rings. But this time it was not about a tree 60 years old. It was about him, his own rings, his own years, his own thin, empty circles. He closed the notebook. He did not sleep well that night. The next morning, Marcus arrived at the workshop earlier than usual. Thomas was at his bench as always. The rocking chair was nearly finished now. Its curved arms reached outward like 2 open hands. Marcus stood in the doorway and looked at it for a moment before speaking. "I counted up," he said. Thomas did not look up. "And 1,800 days, more or less, since university, and He paused. "I don't know what I did with them." Thomas was quiet. He picked up a piece of fine sandpaper and began working along the arm of the chair, slow and even strokes. Marcus expected something. Encouragement, maybe. Or comfort. Some version of it is okay. You are still young? You have time? Thomas said none of those things. "Good," he said. Marcus frowned. "Good. That feeling in your chest." Thomas tapped his own chest once lightly. "That weight. That is not sadness. That is regret arriving early." He looked up now, his eyes steady and calm. Better to feel it at 28 than at 68. At 68, there is less you can do with it. Marcus sat down on the stool. "Did you ever waste time?" he asked. "When you were young?" Thomas set down the sandpaper. He was quiet for a long moment, looking at the rocking chair in front of him, as if he were looking at something much further away. "I had a friend," he said. His name was Daniel. He sat down on a low wooden box across from Marcus. Daniel was the most talented person I ever knew. He could fix anything, build anything, learn anything quickly. Smarter than me, faster than me, better hands. Thomas looked at his own hands. When we were young, I used to think that Daniel would do something remarkable, something the world would remember. "What happened to him?" Marcus asked. "He waited," Thomas said simply. The workshop was very quiet. He always had a plan for someday. Someday he would start his business. Someday he would build the house he had designed 100 times in his notebooks. Someday he would tell his children the things he meant to tell them. Thomas picked up the sandpaper again but did not use it. He just held it. He was going to do it all. He just needed the right moment. The right conditions? A little more money. A little more time. Marcus said nothing. Daniel died at 65. Thomas said, "A Tuesday morning, quietly in his sleep." He paused. "At his funeral, I sat in the back row, and I thought about all his some days, all those plans in his notebooks, all that talent in his hands. All those things he was going to do when the time was right. He looked at Marcus. The time is never just right. It only becomes right when you decide it is. A bird landed on the windowsill outside, looked in for a moment, and flew away. Daniel had one day, Thomas said quietly, every morning when he woke up. One day. But he never chose day one. He smoothed one hand along the arm of the rocking chair. One day or day one? You decide. He never did. Marcus felt something shift inside him. Not dramatically. Not like a movie moment with music and light. Just a quiet, firm shift. Like a door that had been stuck for years, finally moving on its hinge. He thought about Daniel, a man he had never met sitting with his notebooks full of some days. He thought about his own notebook, 2 pages of notes, the rest blank. He did not want to be Daniel. He did not want to be the man at 65 who had everything inside him and left it all there untouched when he went. What do I do? Marcus asked. Thomas stood up. He picked up his sandpaper and turned back to the rocking chair. You already know, he said. You just have to decide if today is one day or day one. That night, Marcus opened his notebook, not to read it, not to look at the 2 pages of old notes. He opened it to a fresh page, picked up a pen, and wrote one sentence at the top. Day one. Then he wrote a list. Not a long list, not a dream board full of big ambitions, just 3 things. 3 small, honest things he would do the next day before he went to work. Wake up at 5:30, open the design course, walk for 20 minutes. That was all. He set the alarm. Not for 7, not for 6:30 with the plan to snooze twice. 5:30. He put the phone across the room so he would have to stand up to reach it. Then he went to sleep. The alarm rang at 5:30. He stood up. It was that simple, and it was that hard. The apartment was dark and cold. His body wanted to go back to bed. His mind offered him 100 small reasons why tomorrow would be just as good. Tomorrow was a better day to start. Tomorrow, he would feel more ready. He put on his shoes anyway. He walked for 20 minutes through the quiet streets. The sky was dark blue at the edges, getting lighter. There was no one around, just the sound of his own footsteps and the cool air on his face. He passed a bakery where someone was already working inside, warm light spilling through the window. He passed a park where a single lamp lit a circle of grass in the dark. The world was already moving. It did not wait for people to feel ready. He came home, made coffee, and opened the design course on his laptop. Module 1. He had paid for this course 7 months ago. He had opened it, once watched 4 minutes of the first lesson, and closed it. This time, he watched the whole lesson. Then the next one. By the time he left for work, 2 hours had passed. He had done 3 things, 3 small things, but they were real. They had actually happened. He felt something he had not felt in a long time. Not happiness exactly. Something quieter than that. Something more solid. He felt like he had not wasted the morning. The days that followed were not perfect. Some mornings the alarm rang, and he lay there for 10 minutes before getting up. Some days he only finished 1 thing on his list instead of 3. Some evenings he was tired and he sat on the sofa and watched something on his phone and felt the familiar pull of old habits. But he got up the next morning and tried again. 30 days passed. He had completed the first 3 modules of the design course. He had walked nearly 200 kilometers one morning at a time. He had filled 11 pages of his notebook. Not with plans, with things he had actually done. 60 days. He started a small project, nothing important, a logo design for his neighbor's small business. It took him 4 evenings. When he finished, he looked at it for a long time. It was not perfect, but he had made it, with his own hands, his own hours, his own attention. He brought it to Thomas one morning. Thomas looked at it carefully, tilting it slightly in the light, the way he tilted pieces of wood to check the grain. He said nothing for a moment. Then he nodded, just once, slow and certain. It was not much, but from Thomas, Marcus had learned a nod was everything. 90 days after that first morning, Marcus arrived at the workshop to find Thomas sitting outside on a low bench, a cup of tea in his hands, watching the street. It was unusual. Thomas was never idle. "No work today?" Marcus asked. "I finished the rocking chair yesterday," Thomas said. "My granddaughter picks it up this afternoon." Marcus sat beside him. They were quiet for a while. A cat crossed the street. A child rode past on a bicycle too fast, laughing at something. "Do you remember the first morning you came here?" Thomas asked. "You told me to come back Friday." Marcus said. "You came back Thursday." Marcus smiled. "I did." Thomas looked at him. Not the way he had looked at him that first day when Marcus was just a young man with a broken chair and empty eyes. He looked at him differently now. The way he looked at a good piece of timber, like he could see something in it worth working with. "One day or day one," Thomas said softly. "You chose." Marcus looked out at the street, at the ordinary morning happening all around them. A woman hanging laundry, a man unlocking his shop, the sky moving slowly from pale to blue. All of it ordinary. All of it alive. "I chose," he said. 1 year later, Thomas retired. Not because he was tired. Thomas did not seem like a man who got tired. But he said his hands had told him it was time, and he trusted his hands more than anything else. He was moving to his daughter's house 3 towns away to be closer to his granddaughter, the one who now sat every evening in the rocking chair he had built her. On his last day in the workshop, Marcus came early. The room looked strange without the timber stacked along the walls. The pegboard was empty. The workbench was clean and bare. Only the smell of sawdust remained deep in the walls, and the floor a smell that Marcus thought would probably never fully leave. Thomas was standing in the middle of the room, looking around at the empty space. Not sadly, just looking. "How does it feel?" Marcus asked. "Like a finished piece," Thomas said. "Good work completed?" They sat together on 2 old stools in the empty workshop. Thomas had brought tea. Outside the street was doing what it always did, being ordinary, being alive. "I want to tell you something," Marcus said. "Before you go." Thomas waited. "A year ago, I was the man who turned off his alarm 3 times and stared at the ceiling." Marcus looked at his hands. Hands that had now completed a design project, repaired 2 pieces of furniture with Thomas's guidance, and begun building a small bookshelf of his own. "I don't think I understood what I was doing. I thought I was just resting, taking it easy, waiting for the right moment. And now," Thomas said, "now I understand that I was spending time I could never earn back." He paused. "I was buying things with money I didn't know I had, and the account was getting smaller every day." Thomas nodded slowly. "You learned it early," he said. "That is the gift." Marcus looked at the empty pegboard where Thomas's tools had hung for 30 years. Each tool in its place, each one used, not decorating. He thought about everything the old man had given him, not lessons from a book, not advice written on a list, just a workshop, a piece of oak, a story about a man named Daniel, and 4 words that had changed the direction of his days. And now, standing in that empty room, Marcus understood those lessons clearly. He wanted to share them, not just keep them for himself. So he turned to face the open door, the morning light coming in, low and warm, and he said them out loud. Lesson 1. Time is the only thing you cannot buy back. Money can be lost and found again. A job can be lost and found again. Even health sometimes can be restored, but a day that passes is gone, completely and permanently gone. Every morning you wake up, you are given something more valuable than money. You are given a day, 24 hours that have never existed before and will never exist again. What you do with that day is entirely up to you. But do not mistake rest for waste. Rest with intention is not the same as drifting without purpose. Know which one you are choosing. Lesson 2. Small daily choices shape your entire life. It is not the big decisions that build a life. It is the small ones repeated daily that determine who you become. Waking up 10 minutes earlier. Reading one page. Walking one block. Writing one sentence. These things feel too small to matter, but over months, over years, over the rings of a lifetime, they are everything. A tree does not grow in a day, but it does grow every day, and so do you if you let it. Lesson 3. Regret is heavier than hard work. People avoid hard work because it is uncomfortable. They choose the easier path, the softer morning, the postponed task. But comfort now is not free. It is borrowed against the future, and the future always collects. The weight of regret, Marcus had learned, is not light. It does not sit gently. It grows heavier with every year it is carried. Hard work is difficult while you are doing it. Regret is difficult for the rest of your life. Choose your discomfort wisely. Lesson 4. Begin today, not someday. Someday is not a day of the week. It is not on any calendar. It is a beautiful word that holds a terrible promise because it asks nothing of you right now and delivers nothing in return. Daniel had lived in someday, his notebooks full, his days empty. The people who build things, make things become things, they are not more talented than Daniel was. They are simply people who replaced someday with today. Who looked at the blank page and picked up the pen. Who looked at the alarm and got up. Who said not one day. Day 1. Marcus stopped. The workshop was very quiet. Thomas was looking at him with an expression Marcus had never seen on the old man's face before. It was not quite a smile. It was something gentler than that. Something that belonged to people who have lived long enough to watch a seed become a tree. You know, Thomas said quietly, Daniel would have liked you. Marcus felt something rise in his chest. Not tears exactly. Something warmer than that. Thank you, he said. For the chair. Thomas stood up slowly, his old knees taking a moment to cooperate. He picked up his empty teacup and looked around the workshop one last time. Thank you, he said, for coming back. He walked to the door, paused there in the morning light. One day or day one it, he said without turning around. You decided well. Then he walked out into the ordinary, extraordinary morning. And Marcus sat alone in the empty workshop in the smell of sawdust and finished things and felt for the first time in a long time that his days were his own. That they had always been his own. He just had to choose them, and now he did. Every morning, one small, deliberate, irreplaceable day at a time. If this story moved something in you today, I want to hear it. Tell me in the comments, are you living in one day, or are you ready to choose day one? Write it down. Say it out loud. Let it be real. Thank you for listening and for being here. Keep coming back for more English stories that speak to your mind and your life. Until next time, take care of your days. Goodbye. Teaching block. Welcome back, English learners. The story is finished. Now, let us take a few minutes to work with the language together. We will look at 15 important words from the story and then practice 10 sentences for shadowing. Listen carefully, then say each sentence out loud after me. Vocabulary. Word 1. Waste. To waste something means to use it badly or not use it at all. Example. Do not waste your mornings on things that do not matter. Word 2. Purpose. Purpose is the reason you do something. It is the feeling that your life has direction. Example. He woke up each day with a clear purpose. Word 3. Regret. Regret is the sad feeling you get when you wish you had done something differently. Example. She lived with deep regret about the years she had lost. Word 4. Dawn. Dawn is the time of day when the sun begins to rise. Early morning. Example. Thomas was already working at dawn before most people were awake. Word 5. Ritual. A ritual is something you do regularly in the same way at the same time. Example. His morning ritual gave him focus for the whole day. Word 6. Choice. A choice is a decision you make when you have two or more options. Example. Every morning is a new choice. Use it or lose it. Word 7. Timber. Timber is wood that has been prepared for building or making things. Example. The workshop smelled of fresh timber and sawdust. Word 8. Patience. Patience is the ability to wait calmly without rushing or giving up. Example. Good work requires patience. You cannot rush a rocking chair. Word 9. Hollow. If something is hollow, it is empty inside. We also use it to describe a feeling of emptiness. Example. He had everything he needed, but his days felt hollow. Word 10. Transform. To transform means to change completely from one thing into something different. Example. Small daily habits can transform your entire life over time. Word 11. Habit. A habit is something you do so often that it becomes automatic part of who you are. Example. Waking up early was no longer difficult. It had become a habit. Word 12. Presence. Presence means being fully in the moment, giving your complete attention to what is here and now. Example. Thomas worked with total presence. Nothing distracted him. Word 13. Urgent. If something is urgent, it needs attention right now. It cannot wait. Example. Your days are urgent. They do not pause while you decide. Word 14. Ordinary. Ordinary means normal. Not special or unusual, but ordinary days used well build extraordinary lives. Example. It was an ordinary morning, but Marcus chose to make it count. Word 15. Deliberately. To do something deliberately means to do it with intention and purpose, not by accident. Example. He lived each day more deliberately than the one before. Shadowing practice. Now repeat each sentence out loud. Speak clearly. Feel the words. Do not just read them. Say them like you mean them. 1. Do not waste your days waiting for the right moment. 2. The right moment is the one you are standing in right now. 3. Every morning you are given a day that has never existed before. 4. Small choices made daily build the life you want to live. 5. Regret is heavier than hard work. Choose your discomfort wisely. 6. Someday is not on the calendar. Today is. 7. One day or day one. You decide. 8. The people who build great things simply started before they felt ready. 9. Your time is the most valuable thing you own. Spend it deliberately. 10. Begin today. Not someday. Not tomorrow morning. Today. Well done. Say those sentences again tonight before you sleep. Say them again tomorrow morning when the alarm rings. Let them be the voice that gets you up. Thank you for studying with this story today. You did not just practice your English. You practiced something more important than that. See you in the next story.